I made all my mistakes there, so so I want to talk to you afterwards, see how Brenda and everybody's doing, okay? Well, today is the Winnie the Pooh Day because I don't know how many of you have seen the movie that's out called Goodbye, Christopher Robin. Anybody seen that? It's probably more on Netflix than in the theaters anymore. It's all based on the author and the true story of how the book Winnie the Pooh came about. And, you know, Christopher Robin was a true person, and his dad was a writer. He usually wrote plays. And they were terrible parents. I mean, they were not the ideal parents. But in spite of that, he had a wonderful couple days with his son, and he decided to write a story about his son, Christopher Robin, and all his little animal friends. And it was really interesting because it was after World War I, when all of England was suffering from the trauma of the war. And the writer himself was in post-traumatic stress. You know, the slightest noise and he would jump. That's probably one of the reasons why he wasn't the best parent, because the whole country was under post-traumatic stress. So he wrote this book, which is not the kind of books he usually wrote. And it immediately just flew off the shelves. It just, everybody in England practically bought it. It was such a popular book because what it did, it restored the innocence. It restored their happiness. It gave them hope to see that there was such a thing as the grace and the gentle spirit of Winnie the Pooh. Then it came to America and Walt Disney bought it and the rest is history. Well, my favorite follow-up to that original book is The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff. How many of you have read The Tao of Pooh? All right. I think next to the Course in Miracles, The Tao of Pooh has done more for my spiritual life than anything, and I think you'll see why as I go along today. He compares the spiritual path to Winnie the Pooh and how we should all learn from him and live our life like he did. Now, the Tao is based on the Tao Te Ching, which is pronounced with a D, not a T, and credit is given to Lao Tzu for writing that original book, although Lao Tzu was probably a composite character of different sages. It was back in the 6th century when people like Plato and Socrates, Buddha and Confucius and Lao Tzu were all in that same time frame. So there was this awakening of spirituality. And they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, there's a very famous painting called The Vinegar Tasters. And The Vinegar Tasters shows a painting of Buddha, Confucius, and Lao Tzu all tasting vinegar. And you compare the expressions on their face as you taste the vinegar. We can all pucker up just thinking of what that would taste like. First you look at Buddha, who has a rather bitter look. After all, they're at odds with the world, and life is about suffering, and we have to detach from the world and transcend the world. And heaven forbid we should have a desire. No wonder why he was bitter. Then they show Confucius, who has sort of a sour look. The world is in disorder, it's out of harmony with heaven, and we need rules and regulations. That's why you always hear Confucius say, do this. Confucius say, don't do that. A lot of doo-doo in Confucius. It is said of Confucius, if the mat was not straight, the master would not sit on it. Well, he wouldn't last 5 minutes in my home, I can tell you that. Then you look at Lao Tzu's face. And he's smiling as he's tasting the vinegar. He knows something the others don't know. He's in harmony with it. He knows God is in everything, everywhere. And he embraces the sharp vinegar taste, knowing there's good in it. He knows the more you resist something, the more you try to control something, the more you try to force something, the more pain and suffering we enter into. And when we're in harmony with the flow, saying, okay, I may not like this right now, but I'm going to go with it for a while, it will always take us to a blessing, to our highest good. After all, look at vinegar. Those of us who clean and cook, well, I don't do much of that, but we know that vinegar has thousands of uses, cleaning and cooking, so we embrace that sour taste. Now, if we compare it with unity metaphysics, the attitude of non-resistance is the most important key on our spiritual path. The spiritual unfoldment is a process, and there's much in the human consciousness that requires healing and transformation along the way. And that's where our life situations come in. They're there to help us with that. Through the practice of non-resistance, we have the opportunity to realize that all situations, I repeat, all situations in life can teach us something. We're not here to attack life, but to learn from it and grow from it. And this realization helps us to meet all of life's challenges, like Winnie the Pooh, with peace and poise. Winnie the Pooh walks gently through the world in contentment, total contentment, with the simplicity and the flow, in harmony with all his surroundings. And in the book, the Tao of Pooh, Benjamin Hoff says, happy serenity is the most noticeable characteristic of the Taoist personality. And the subtle sense of humor is apparent even in the most profound Taoist teachings. Or as I always say, life is far too important to take seriously. If you cannot take it seriously, you'll never be happy. So there's this cast of characters, starting with Tigger. You know Tigger? He's Tigger, Tigger. What's the song? The wonderful thing about Tiggers, it goes on like that. I can relate to Tigger. I'm a Gemini, and I came into this world with high energy, and I used to bounce around like Tigger. I still talk too fast. Michael says I do everything too fast. That's just the way I am. Thank God I got sick at age 10, because I was even faster and more hyper before I got sick. Until then, I slowed down. Believe it or not, I have slowed down since then. My childhood prayer that I prayed almost every day used to be, God, please don't make my life boring. Anything but boring. I thought that would be the biggest curse in the world. And now my prayer every day is, oh please, one boring day, God, just one boring day, please. Where a Taoist knows it doesn't matter. Be in harmony with whatever. Life can get intense, but we don't have to get intense along with it. I'm going to be reading a lot from Benjamin Hoff today, because this is my Bible. Our religions, sciences, and business ethics have tried their hardest to convince us that there's a great reward waiting for us somewhere, and that what we have to do is to spend our lives working like lunatics to catch up with it. Anybody relate to that? Whether it's up in the sky beyond the next molecule or in the executive suite, it's somehow always a little further along than we are. Just down the road, around the next corner, up the next step. And it works against the natural order of things, so it makes it difficult to be happy. So most people give up and fall by the side of the road, cursing the world, which is not to blame, but is there to show us the way. Oh darn, everything in my face today is there to show me the way. Wow. That must be why Eeyore. Remember, all these little animals are a part of Christopher Robin, and they're a part of us too. Anybody relate to Eeyore? He's very slow, and he whines and complains about everything. He resists everything around him, and he is not able to enjoy every precious moment, because he's resisting and whining and complaining. Then there's Piglet. He's really sweet, but he's so fearful. He's afraid of his own shadow. He doesn't want to do anything new or different, or he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't realize that the flow of life is the Tao. It's all for the good. On page 143, to have no thought and put forth no effort is the first step to understanding the Tao. I think that's why I like the Taoist philosophy, no effort. To go nowhere and do nothing is the first step toward finding peace in the Tao. Trust the flow of every moment. Whatever's before you, go with it. It's for your soul's highest evolution. And every character of the Christopher Robin story is part of us. There's Eeyore, whining and complaining. There's the owl, pontificating. The rabbit, and they're all thinkers. Thinking things to death, thinking away the blessing, rationalizing life instead of just enjoying it. And that intense energy vibration of overthinking things can get us out of the flow of just enjoying what is. On page 80 it says, when you work with circumstances, instead of saying, this isn't supposed to be happening this way. Anybody said that this week? This isn't supposed to be happening this way. And trying hard to make it happen some other way against the flow. Anybody relate to that? Within each of us there's an owl, a rabbit, an Eeyore, and a Pooh. For too long we've chosen the way of the owl and the rabbit, controlling, rationalizing, using the power of our intellect. And now, like Eeyore, we complain about the results. But that accomplishes nothing. If we're smart, we'll choose the way of Pooh. And the back of the cover is really great. It says, where Eeyore frets, and Piglet hesitates, and Rabbit calculates, and Owl pontificates, Pooh just is. He just is. That's all. Well, let's compare Taoism with unity. I love to compare. In unity, we say every Sunday there's only one presence, one power, right? In the Tao, it's the same. God is in everything. There's no place where God is not. What's there to fear? In unity, we say divine order. In Taoism, it says it's all in the flow. It's all in the flow. Matter of fact, the Chinese translation of the book of John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. The Taoist interpretation is, in the beginning was the Tao, and the Tao was with God, and the Tao was God. All in the flow of creation. Benjamin Hoff says, the harmony that naturally existed between heaven and earth from the very beginning could be found by anyone, anytime. According to Lao Tzu, the more we interfere with the natural balance produced and governed by universal laws, the further away the harmony retreated into the distance. In other words, the more we try to control it, fix it, make it happen, the more out of it we are, the more trouble we find. I picked up a Wayne Dyer book this week, and Wayne Dyer was talking about this too. He's written a whole book on the Tao of Te Ching. And he said, what causes a flower to grow? If you ask people that question, everybody will say, I got this. I know how to grow a flower. You stick a seed in some dirt and you water it and let the sun shine, and I can grow a flower. And Wayne Dyer says, no, the divine presence in that seed is what makes the flower grow. There are wildflowers growing all over the planet without help from any of us humans. The Tao does not do, but nothing is not done. Wow, I like that one, because I'm a do-do person. I love that. The Tao does not do, but nothing is done. And people go crazy with that. Well, what do you mean you don't do anything? No, it means the Tao doesn't force or interfere with things, but lets them work in their own way to produce results naturally. Then whatever needs to be done is done naturally, effortlessly. A long time ago, I think it was back in Cedar Rapids, I had a Native American friend come and he gave me permission to tell this story. He was trying to make a peace pipe, and he was so frustrated because you have to get that hole through the center of the peace pipe, and it kept coming out crooked, and he was getting more and more upset and more angry, and somebody came up to him and said, well, what's the purpose of what you're making? He says, well, I'm making a peace pipe. And they said, well, maybe you should find a little of it before you start making a peace pipe, Same when you're making a flute, getting that center hole. And metaphysically, it's like we have to center in God, center in the flow. And then the music or the smoke can flow through us. But we have to center. Would you repeat with me if you're comfortable? Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. Together? Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. And don't forget your teddy bear this week. Let's take that into prayer. Nothing can disturb the calm peace of my soul. If I truly choose to trust the flow, if I truly choose to know that whatever is before me, whatever I've fallen into, is for my highest good on some level. I let go of all resistance. I look for the blessing. I allow the flow to take me to the other side. Above it, below it, around it, or through it. I surrender to the flow. And I open to receive the gift that is there for my highest soul evolution. And this morning together, we are so blessed in each other's presence. We are so grateful for each one here, adding to the consciousness of this space. We are so blessed in each other's presence. And we simply say thank you, Father, Mother God, in the nature of the Christ. And so it is. Amen.
Please join us in singing. Don't